Now, once in a great while, we love a concept of a convenience food, but we get it into our head, we can actually make them from scratch ourselves.
Always true.
But the problem is it worth the extra time?
That's right.
Okay.
Now, there are a few recipes out there, and most of them follow the same line of thinking in that you have either chopped or shredded potatoes. Some use raw, some use cooked. You mix them in with a bunch of flour, maybe an egg, and then you form those little tots and fry them. And so starting, of course, with the potato, we tested different kinds of potatoes, but really wound up loving the russet because it has that deep potato flavor, and that starchy texture disappears when you fry it. So this is 2.5 pounds of peeled russets. We're just going to chop it into 1.5-inch chunks. Some recipes actually chop these by hands, which is kind of crazy. We're going to use the food processor. If your food processor's on the small side, less than 11 cups, you might need to do this in batches. So you put all the potatoes in there. And now another trick we learned, we're going to add a cup of water. And that really helps not only the processor move a little bit more quickly, but it rinses some of that potato starch away, which makes a lighter, fluffier tot. So this is 2¼ teaspoons of salt.
So the starch in the potatoes, which is natural to the potato,
That's right.
that makes the final tot a little gummy and heavy?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, you want to try to get rid of some of that starch. So you just dissolve the salt into the water, and we're going to add this to the food processor. Now we're going to process this till it's pretty finely chopped, which is about 10 to 12 pulses. All right, so that's about 12 pulses. And you can see, it's pretty finely chopped. There are some distinct pieces in there, but it's pretty uniform. So you're just going to strain this through a fine mesh strainer. And you can see the color of this liquid. It really has a ton of starch, and that is the starch that makes the tots really dense and gummy, as you mentioned. So you just want to press pretty hard and get rid of all that liquid. And I'm just going to put the potatoes in this bowl. You need to cook the potatoes before you make the tots, or else the interiors stay raw. And so we're going to microwave them on high for 8 to 10 minutes uncovered until they're cooked through and relatively dry.
Okay.
All right, so we microwave these for about 9 minutes, and they're cooked through and obviously much drier. Now we're going to season them with 1/2 teaspoon ground pepper. And now we're going to add some flour. Now, a lot of recipes added a ton of flour. And for this amount of potatoes, those recipes would have added about 1/2 cup. But this is only 1.5 tablespoons. And this is key to making them not so dense.
Well, if you only add a tablespoon or so, how do you get them to hold together?
Well, because they're partly cooked, they are already starting to hold together and shape up. So this is just a little extra insurance.
Well, I thought you'd have egg in the potato tot.
Yeah, we tested that. But the egg really didn't do much binding. It just added more moisture, which makes them harder to work with. So losing the egg actually made it easier to shape the tots. And obviously this mixture is pretty hot. We're going to have to cool it down before we shape the tots. And so what I'm going to do is just spread it out over a foil-lined baking sheet and let them cool for about 10 minutes. And then I'll show you our fancy shaping technique. All right, so these have been cooling for about 8 minutes or so. So I'm going to push these potatoes into the middle, and then I'm going to use a square cake pan to help me really compress the potatoes into a firm cake that's square that we can then slice into that tot shape.
Okay.
Another trick is you can use this overhang of foil to really press it down and get it into the corner so you have that nice square shape that's going to be easy to slice. Now, what we're going to do is throw this in the freezer for about ½ an hour to super chill it, and then we can slice them and fry them. All right, so this has been in the freezer for about ½ an hour, and it's nice and firm. And now we're going to slice them into that wonderful tot shape. I'm going to cut them into tots. And this makes about 48 tots. And to cut this evenly, you do 6 cuts in one direction and 8 cuts in the other. All right, and so I have this oil heating up over here. And when you deep fry things, you really want to range between 350 and 400 for most deep fried things. And for this, we're looking for a temperature of 375. And one easy way to get these into the oil without burning your fingers is to use this spider and you sort of load on a few tots, and then you gently lower them into the hot oil. And they might fuse together at the beginning, but as they fry, they'll start to separate. So you can fry about half these tots at a time. So these fry for 5 to 7 minutes. What you're looking for is a nice golden exterior. All right, so some of these are looking perfect. So I'm just going to go in here. Oh, don't those look good?
They do look good.
That's the color you're looking for, that nice golden brown. I'm going to drain them on this wire rack set over a rimmed baking sheet. Then I'm of course, that was just half the batch. And I'm going to keep these warm in a 200-degree oven while we fry the second batch. All right, these look perfectly done. I took this first batch out of the oven so I could put these on the same wire rack.
You could do these at a state fair, make millions.
Oh, that would be good. Turn the burner off, and we're ready to taste them. Now, of course, you can make these, fry them, and freeze them so that you have them at the ready. If you have kids, that's pretty handy. We also found you can double the recipe if you want to make a lot and then freeze them.
So we have little forks and napkins for these?
Would you want to use your hands?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. How many would you like?
6.
Oh, well, you get more.
7. That's what I said.
All right.
Here we are.
Oh, this looks...
Julia's homemade tot.
Oh. Aren't these amazing?
Well, they're really crispy, but I like they're creamy inside.
Yeah.
Cooked, but creamy. Great homemade tots start, oddly enough, with potatoes in a food processor, a little salt and water. Take them out, drain that excess water out. Then we had to cook them in a microwave for 8 to 10 minutes. Chilled them, ended up in a freezer so it was easy to cut, and then fried them for about 4 or 5 minutes. And there you have it from a Cook's Country, our own fabulous homemade version of potato tots. So you can get this recipe, all the recipes from this season of Cook's Country, and our tastings and testing results as well at cookscountrytv.com. You can also watch selected episodes of this season of our TV show. Good idea, too.